have it. We are back with another episode of Inside the Festival Talk right here on Carnival Radio Live. And of course, for those of you that are checking us out via podcast, this is Discover Music Channel by Playmass.today. Today we are going to talk about Inside the Festival and how it became. We have special guest Jerome Smith from Sideline Entertainment, and today's topic is the evolution from video to talk, documenting culture. Jerome, Rome, let people know who you are and tell us a little bit about Sideline Entertainment.
Hey, well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be on this podcast with you. So for those who don't know, my name is Jerome Smith, aka Romeo, aka JB Smith, and yeah, I am the curator, proprietor of Sideline Entertainment. And even Sideline Entertainment in itself is basically an evolution. Started out as Sideline Sports and Entertainment, and we just kind of broadened our scope a little bit to the Sideline Entertainment. Yeah, we cover basically a lot of, as the name implies, we definitely cover a lot of Bahamian sporting events, but we also cover a lot of our cultural events happening here in the Bahamas, whether it's Junkanoo, Carnival, even just music concerts, food festivals. So yeah, we basically are like I said, we cover a lot of cultural events or any event that's happening here in the Bahamas. Once it's hype, or even if it's not hype, we make it hype.
So that's interesting. The evolution of Sideline Entertainment and Sports, and now Sideline Bahamas, right?
Yep.
Early on, you started out just doing sports. When did the evolution happen? When did you begin to spread out? Was it because of the lack of sporting activities, or was it because there was so much stuff happening?
No, so again, like I said, started out doing sports. There definitely was the reason why I actually started out with sports, because I felt there was actually a lack of sports coverage from a Bahamian perspective. We had, especially as far as government initiatives, the government actually purposely started to recruit, I guess, sports tourism events. And I realized that there wasn't a lot of coverage for it. And just kind of followed that. Also realized that we have a lot of up and coming student athletes that needed coverage as well. From the entertainment side, I realized that the sports name kind of locked me into one niche. So again, wanting to spread out and cover a lot more of the entertainment side and some of the cultural events, I realized that it didn't really fit into the sports aspect of it. So again, dropped the sports side of it and just broadened it to Sideline Entertainment, aka Sideline Bahamas. So yeah, like I said, it definitely wasn't a lack of sporting events. There's still a lot of sporting events. Right now it's track and field season, and if you don't know, our Bahamian track and field athletes are definitely doing their thing. As a matter of fact, just talking from the sports aspect, the Big Red Machine, one of our local high schools, they set an international record in their 4x100 meters yesterday at Penn Relays. On Friday, that would have been Friday, April 24th at the 2026 Penn Relays. The senior girls set an international record. Now, bringing it even closer, or moving on to the entertainment side, again, entertainment tourism is big here in the Bahamas, or is even growing. So again, with the carnival events, Junkanoo is definitely spreading as well. And now we have a number of R&B concerts that take place here. Even reggae, a couple of weeks back, they had Reggae in the Park, which featured a number of reggae artists. Like I said, there's no shortage of events here that take place in the Bahamas.
Now, are these really entertainment tourism products, or are these just entertainment products? Because entertainment tourism means that you are advertising and marketing to international audience to bring in tourist dollars.
So that's a good question, and I'm glad you actually brought that up. So from a personal perspective, we say entertainment tourism, but I think there's definitely a lot more room for growth. We have tons of growth to do there. Just like you said, when you say entertainment tourism or even sports tourism, yes, that means that you're purposely or intentionally marketing to international guests and trying to bring in, international folks. So again, I think we have a lot of growth to do there. I feel that part of it is we here in the Bahamas, and I might be wrong, but again, this is just a personal opinion. I feel that since we are known as a tourist destination. So I feel a lot of the promoters or event planners, I think they kind of piggyback off that and feel as though, well, hey, we have the tourists here anyway, or we have international guests here anyway. So let's provide them with something else to do. Whereas, like you said, it should be a lot more direct marketing to actually bring in folks for these specific events. Now, I know with our proximity to Florida to the United States, to North America, and also with I would say a pretty big Jamaican and Haitian community. They are kind of like byproducts. So again, like I said, with the proximity and also with a lot of Bahamians traveling or even living in Florida, South Florida specifically, yeah, it's kind of like a byproduct. So they kind of get the news by word. I want to say word of mouth, but I think there definitely has to be a lot more input or direct marketing if we want to seriously talk about it as a entertainment tourism or sports tourism product.
Right. Now, Jerome, you've been a pivotal figure in the architect of Bahamas Carnival experience, right? For those who have seen the finished product on the road, but don't know the engine room and how you define your role within Sidelines Entertainment and Sports, what is your mission inside the carnival space?
So my mission, I would love to see the continued growth of Carnival and the Carnival product, or the Bahamas Carnival product. Again, as like you said, a lot of people see our finished product, but again, from behind the camera, you get to see a lot of the ins and outs, some of the faults, some of the good things that are happening, but you also see a lot of things that need growth or need work on. So with that being said, and as a producer, as a content producer, of course you want to focus on the positive things. You want to focus on the good times that people are having. You want to focus on the whole vibe. The businesses that are involved with it. Take for example the drink products, or even the alcohol products, the T-shirts. Down to these little things. These are the things that you wanna bring to light. But I feel as though the Carnival product itself, as far as getting participation, there's a lot of work to be done. I've seen it as far as participation, both internationally and local. I've seen that participation dwindle. I would say probably to maybe a third of what it originally started out to be. And again, we know there's a lot of factors affecting that as well. Of course, when Bahamas Carnival first started, there was, there was a concerted effort by the government and they actually pumped in a lot of money into marketing and making sure that the events happen. Over the years, the Bahamas Carnival product has become privatized. So again, there hasn't been as much money as when it first started out. But here again, just like with any business, hey, you have to figure out ways to use your money in the best possible way and figure out ways to grow, Like I said, as far as the Bahamas Carnival product, yeah, we still have tons of work to grow, tons of work to do.
Well, I definitely agree with you on that. You and I have been documenting this journey for years. In your own words, how did Inside the Festival start, and what does it mean to you?
Oh, so Inside the Festival, again, I have to credit you, Africa Allah, with even the vision of that. Again, we when Bahamas Carnival first started out, it was a lot of events, fetes, foam parties, paint parties, hula fetes. Just there were a whole lot of events going on, focused on bringing in or drawing attention to Bahamas Carnival. Again, over the years, that has pretty much dwindled. Of course, there are still some signature events that take place, but on the flip side of that, like I said, I remember years ago, every band had a costume launch. Fast forward to 2026, I think only one band has had a major had a major costume launch.
But that shift has happened not only in the Bahamas, but globally. People have moved their costume launches online to make them digital, to make them more palatable, and also so that all of their international participants can participate in the grandeur of the event, because a lot of revenue is being spent on a local product for an international market, which ideally, yes, it made sense on paper, but it also takes away from the hype in market. And this is globally. This is not just local, right? Because you see it in Trinidad, you see it in Miami and some other places that they're really moving towards digital costume launches.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, and that actually alludes to a lot of the conversations that I've had here locally as well. So yeah, like you said, a lot of these other countries have evolved into online or digital costume launches. But again, that was an evolution. With any product, you have to have a local participation in it. So, and I'm not knocking the online presence. Again, you can still have you can still have a digital signature, but you still have to have a local presence. My point was to as far as Bahamas Carnival, as far as I know, none of them, there are very few bands that have actually done any launch. They may have announced that, hey, we have costumes, but again, even with an online showing, I think there's only been 3. So again, like I said, you have to have a local participation, because again, no matter what it is, the international folks, they're looking at the vibe from what they see. And if they don't see your local people participating or being excited about it, would make them want to come from wherever they're at to say, well, hey, I want to go down to the Bahamas and party with those guys.
Right. Now, that takes me to the why. Now, from my perspective, when it comes to inside the festival, initially I started out doing a documentary series on the culture versus commerce conversation based around Bahamas Carnival, because when they started it, or when they initiated in 2014 was the initiation. The first year was 2015.
Right.
The fear was that in 5 years, Carnival would surpass Junkanoo, and the revenue put into Carnival would take away from the value proposition of Junkanoo, which is authentically Bahamian. However, in saying that, and having been able to experience various carnivals and studying the carnival market, because if you're going to talk about something, you need to know the history behind it. And when you study these things, you realize that there are correlations between everything that is culturally accepted in all markets.
Agreed.
The difference is what is available. So while we may call our product Junkanoo, Brazil calls theirs Carnival.
Right.
Same concept, same thing, right? They have a performative product. It's understood as Carnival. We have Junkanoo. It's a performative product. Carnival, which is Trinidad, or Trinidad popularized, they have an immersions product, right? So you can immerse yourself into that product and become a part of the celebration. Still culturally viable. It still ties back into the culture. Introducing Carnival, and this statement came from a clip that I did when I interviewed Franklin Wilson about Bahamas Carnival, and this was in 2014. And his statement stuck with me. There's no reason that we shouldn't have a winter festival, Junkanoo, a spring festival, Carnival, a summer festival, Gumbe or Junkanoo, and a fall festival. There's no reason that we couldn't have these things. And Carnival allows one, the Junkanooers, the artisans, to actually be able to make money from the product so that they can then invest that money into their Junkanoo products. They do not get paid for it. But it also allows them to be more diverse and more creative, because Junkanoo has a lot of restrictions, whereas Carnival doesn't. And I thought that explanation was really insightful. However, when introducing the product to the market, that was not the way it was presented. And had we had presented it in that way, I think more people would have been receptive to it. So for me, the evolution of Inside the Festival came from having a documentary where we were having all of these conversations with key people and turning them into bite-sized series pieces that people could digest and understand the conversations. Because the other part is culture versus commerce. We're talking about the commerce part and putting heads in beds.
Yeah.
When we talk about commerce, there is a whole ecosystem that goes into that.
Yeah.
We're looking again, the Junkanoo performers who are now artisans that are participating in Carnival, that are making revenue from their artistry. We're talking about the DJs, the sound people, the lighting people, the staging people. We're talking about marketing. We're talking about concierge. We're talking about transportation. We're talking about hoteliers. We're talking about food and beverage. There's a whole ecosystem into the financial aspect of the carnival. So Inside the Festival came after 2017 when the government changed hands and Carnival became privatized.
Right.
And that was where we decided, because like it costs a lot of money to go around and do these things, and we're not getting, I mean, we didn't have any sponsorship, and because we didn't have any sponsorship because one, people were fighting down the idea of Carnival. Two, we weren't Rev or Zen and S, who also after our first iteration turned around and took our concept and tried to have their own shows, but because they didn't see it profitable, or they didn't believe in the mission, they quickly abandoned the programming, right?
Yeah.
Because you had the Carnival Countdown, and there was a couple of the Rundown. There was a couple different shows that came up behind us, and it made it even harder for us to actually be able to go out to these events and cover them because we didn't have the Rev or the Zen and S behind us.
Right.
But here we are. What is it? 10 years later, almost 10 years later, and we're still covering the Carnival conversation.
Yeah.
Which is the other thing. We moved from visual. We still do the visual, but we've moved from visual to conversation. Because people are afraid to have conversations on camera or feel some type of way, right? But they're willing to have a conversation. They don't want to feel attacked. They want to have a conversation. And having a conversation and getting people to speak candidly about their feelings towards a product that they've put their energy behind is, one, very human and authentic, and two, it makes for good media.
100% with you. And, even just as you're talking about Inside the Festival, the evolution and all of the different things, that Inside the Festival covered or dealt with, even just like back to, like you were saying, one of the first docuseries that you did was Commerce versus Culture. And even with these other countries with their carnival product, it basically was an avenue for them to display other parts of their culture. So, take for example with Trinidad, even though we know the soca music, it also introduced us into the food. People now, I'm not saying that it was just Carnival alone that did this, but people globally know what doubles are. You know what I mean? People internationally know what roadie is. People now know what steel pan is. Again, all of these other things that Carnival or infused in the Carnival. And back to what you were saying, I felt, again, with us in the Bahamas, I think we were one of the last, or for us, Carnival is very young. So again, still a lot of growing pains. But again, hey, we have the model out. We have the models out there. So I think there are definitely some things that we could and should have done and still need to continue to do. Bringing it back to commerce versus culture. Just like you said, hey, we can have a spring festival, summer, a winter festival. But again, with all of these, we should be able, namely and particularly Bahamas Carnival, we should be infusing all of our culture into it. I remember in the early in the early parts of Bahamas Carnival, we had the Song Masters competition, which basically was an avenue for all of our Bahamian artists to come up with songs. Not saying I think they should be doing that anyway, but again, it was a way for even up and coming or even new artists to present their music, whether it was rake and scrape, a carnival type song, whatever it may be. It was an avenue for them to present their music. I think both of us noticed this and said this last year. So, and when I say last year, 2025 was the first time that Junkanoo was actually infused into Bahamas Carnival.
The first time.
The very first time.
The very time that goat skin drums and the cowbell were on the road, because they did try to infuse Junkanoo into it by tagging the word Junkanoo.
But again,
the first time in a decade, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They actually had the drums on the road and people were able to experience it. And I think that change, that was the pinnacle of it. Like, that was what we should have been doing from the very beginning.
From day one. I 100% agree with you.
And people appreciated it.
And, I know even with, on the road, there was a mandate for rake and scrape or local Bahamian music to be played for a part of the carnival or for the road march. And again, for me, from behind the camera, any time that rake and scrape was played, and I'm actually going to refer to a specific event. I remember the Juve. Shouts out to Duddy Crew. Again, their Juve event over the years. Yeah. If you're coming here, you gotta attend that Juve, man. So I remember Duddy Crew's Juve. There was a portion on the road during the Juve that they played some rake and scrape. Shouts out to Temperatures. I have video with Temperatures like tripping down the road to rake and scrape to D-Max with the Garland song. And I saw that happen multiple times during Bahamas Carnival. So again, like I said, these are the things that we need to kind of focus on when we talk about infusing Bahamian culture into, or when we're talking about commerce versus culture. Again, like I said, I feel it's a great avenue to introduce or infuse a lot of our other Bahamian culture into these kinds of things.
With us moving from video to audio, I mean, we still do the video, like I said, but for us moving from video to audio, tell me, what was it that people needed to hear that they weren't seeing?
Good question. I think, and even bringing it back to where you said, like, even the name of Bahamas Carnival has evolved and changed over the years, because I think when it first came, it was Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival, which to me I understand the concept, but it didn't make much sense. It was two totally different things. But I think, again, even with, like you're saying, just the audio, people weren't hearing, they weren't, I guess, diving deep or taking a deep dive into what the whole carnival event was supposed to entail or cover. Again, like I said, just going back to Junkanoo Carnival, again, with those who, I guess, were around it, you understood or you had an idea what you wanted to achieve. But again, nobody did that deep dive into, hey, these are the steps that we need to take, or this is the reason why we named it Junkanoo Carnival, or this is what we plan to accomplish with Carnival. Again, even now with Carnival, bringing it back to, like you were saying, like 2025 was the first time goatskin drums, the actual junket event, was infused into Carnival. Now people are, and not taking away from the Boxing Day parades or the New Year's Day parades or any of the other Junkanoo events, but now all of those hundreds of people who were at Carnival were now saying, oh, hey, we got to come back to experience Junkanoo. We got to see what this Junkanoo is all about. Hey, the costumes are vibrant, like you said, that. And again, I think that's what did not happen at the beginning. Again, a lot of these conversations, the deep dive, the exploration of what could have, the possibilities that wasn't had. It was just more of just like you said, more of the visuals. And of course, I think the big, when we're talking about visuals, of course, from a Bahamian point of view, most people just saw the revelry and the costumes and the soca music instead of, well, hey, why is it done this way? Why aren't we not hearing more rake and scrape? Or and people were not, even from a visual point, a lot of people probably weren't even showing the rake and scrape, or people enjoying, and I'm talking about the international folks enjoying the rake and scrape or the Bahamian part of the music.
I want to take it back to the music because it's always the music for me, right? I mean, over the course of my 34 years in entertainment, it has always been the music for me, right? And with the music, we had the music masters,
Yeah.
and what that did was it incentivized artists to participate. But not
Yeah.
only did it do that, it started training Bahamian artists to produce music in a more timely span so that they can actually have their music in rotation.
Yeah.
Artists like Wendy Bodine, Rick Carey, and Julian Believe, and there's so many more now, have
Yeah.
been able to see the value of producing music during various seasons of the year. So you have your music out by December or by November for Trinidad Carnival. You have your music out by April for Bahamas Carnival. You have your music out by August for Miami Carnival. And you can get booked on these, in these countries. Bahamas Carnival gave Bahamian artists, not only Bahamian soca artists, but Bahamian rake and scrape artists, an opportunity to be booked internationally on a circuit that is already housing over 33 different locations. And now it's increased with now, they're having Kingdom Carnival in Ghana. April 24th through the 26th with Marshall Montano and Skinny Fabulous, Giselle the Wasi one. And she was also very pivotal in making sure that Bahamas Carnival took off when it did. So when we have all of these various channels to push our music, it's hard for us to say that Carnival isn't beneficial, but we're not having conversation as to the upsides of what this is doing, because people still think that we're fighting down XYZ. But when they do a small island jam and you have people like DJ Fresh and Spuddy on Love and Harmony, and they do a rake and scrape set, and you have the whole boat rocking, that tells you that all we need is an opportunity and one little, listen, just give me a little pathway. We're going to make it shake. Because it's up to you as the artist, as the DJ, to introduce that sound to people, because people want to know small island jams.
And just to I definitely wanted to hop in here. One of the, I might get some back, man. Shouts out to Benji Alexander. Is like, to me, he has taken that model and ran with it. He, of course, it started out with, hey, one hit song for Bahamas Carnival, and now, again, just like you said, he is producing music year round. Whether it's soca based, whether it's rake and scrape based, whether it's junkanoo based, he has found a way to infuse whatever, all of these different genres. And now, whenever I see Benji, I be surprised that he actually on the island, because he's actually out and about doing shows. Like you said,
and he's at every carnival. He's at almost every carnival. Whether and listen, he'll find a way on somebody's stage, whether he must or not. And I mean, I'm not talking about locally. I'm talking about internationally.
Internationally, right. Agreed, 100%. Like I said, whenever I see Benji now, whenever I see him in Nassau, I'm surprised because, again, I see him more online doing international shows than he is here. So again, like I said, the conversations have to be had, and we need to take a look at how do you actually come up with these strategies or be more strategic about what we're doing with Bahamas Carnival. And even back to our DJs, a couple of notes on that. Just like you're saying, the whole point of DJs is not just to play music. Like you said, and I'm sure people from our era, we are used to DJs introducing music, whether you know it or not. If you don't know it, hey, you depended on the DJs to let you know, well, hey, this is the hot song, or this is what's going to be a hot song, get used to it. And just like you said, the when these DJs play on any international stage, in particularly Love and the Harmony Cruise, Uber Soca Cruise, like you said, hey, when they play that rake and scrape or that Bahamian set or that Bahamian music, that John Canoe, yeah, I'm sure the boat is tilting. You know?
Well, there are people that disagree with you when it comes to that, right? They feel that the job of a DJ is to play known music, not necessarily introduction. But then my question is, who introduces the music? Because if radio follows the streets and the street mimics radio, who's giving you the introduction? Somebody has to be responsible for breaking the record. And like you said, in our era, we had sound systems like Stone Love and Radigan them that were YGT breaking records, breaking artists. You see, Buju is on his new PR run where he's promoting Butterflies, which just recently entered #1 in the US Spotify reggae charts. Now, while that doesn't matter because we know money goes behind it, it's the amount of visibility. We also know that people are still breaking records because if he wasn't out there doing the work, who would know the record for it to enter in the new top 100s?
Exactly.
Right? We have to be and when I say we, I'm talking to all of my promoters and my DJs and the artists. We have to be responsible for introducing people to new sounds, music, and artists. That is our job. And we have the ear. We know a hit when we hear a hit. The reason people fall in love with DJs and follow them is because they can trust them to deliver something they didn't know they needed. And that should always be the objective as a DJ, which is why we introduced Carnival Radio.live in 2025 to support the Bahamas Carnival Vet Weekend Collective, because we wanted people to come to the Bahamas and know the music, not only from the rest of the Caribbean, but here in the Bahamas. So when they heard it on the road, it would be like, oh, I heard that on Carnival Radio. And they would be familiar. If familiarity is what makes the party more impressive, then let's get them familiar.
Exactly.
Let's put it in their ear hole. From the road to your ear hole, this is what we're here for. And that goes back to creating the conversation around the festival, because we need to know why these things are happening. And I want to ask you, from a media production, that is exhausting, right? It is exhausting. And it's often thankless because, as I said, for what are we, almost a decade now, more than a decade, we've been documenting the culture. But in that time, people forget that between you and I, we probably have a vast library of videos and documentations, conversations about the planning of Carnival, the execution of it, the events, and all of the people that came in between. There are people that are no longer with us that we have on camera. Just the other day, I was looking at some video footage and I had an interview with Blacks.
Wow.
I got interviews with Ricardo Drew. These are people that are no longer with us. So their stories live on in the documentation that we've done. And I think that that's important. Like, we're not only having the conversations, but we are documenting history now. We have the cultural archives that you can go back and review so that you don't have to rewrite the script. You just have to look at what worked and what didn't work.
Well, see, now you got me reminiscent now. And just as you were talking about that, again, remember earlier I mentioned all of these different events that have kind of like disappeared. I remember Lagoon Fete, which was one of the biggest events that people were looking forward to. Of course, as far as that particular venue, there was a hurricane that came through that kind of destroyed the venue. But again, like I said, as far as us documenting all of these different things, like you said, the blueprint is there. So, why not try to, and again, we know there's evolution as well. But hey, like you said, the blueprint is there. Bring back some of these things, or again, put some type of evolution to it. Hey, I have a really good friend of mine. You don't. He says that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but sometimes you have to change the tires.
That's
So
you have to change the tires sometimes. So why did you continue to produce these inside the festival products even though the market changed? And like what was your North Star? What keeps you and the team coming back to record the stories every season? Because I think every year we'd be like, this is the last one. And then it's like, okay, you going out to the and we still organizing the thing.
yeah. So
And we're not getting
again,
paid. Let's make sure we tell people that we ain't getting paid for this.
hey, on that note, hey, we are always open to sponsors.
Right.
Hey, drop us a line, let us know. But with that, ultimately, hey, I love personally. I just love our Bahamian culture. I love seeing Bahamian. I love seeing my people enjoy themselves. And again, growing up here in the Bahamas, like I said, hey, tourism is our major industry, is our number one industry. So again, anything to promote, hey, our people or promote tourism, I am down for it. Again, even from the tourism aspect, people want to see, or the thing that draws them here to the Bahamas is, hey, they see us having a great time. They see us being happy. They see us with the vibe. So they're like, hey, not only is there sun, sand, and sea, but there's a great vibe down there. And from a media production point, like you said, oftentimes it's thankless. But one of the things that I'm sure even you appreciate is when we hear those folks on the road who come down and visit, and they're like, oh man, this is such an awesome vibe. Or they've even attended other carnivals, and they're like, oh, hey, the Bahamas has the greatest vibe out of all the carnivals that we've been to or experiences. So again, these are the things that keep me going. These are the things that I look forward to covering. Again, just showing all of our people, or just showing people on the road having a great time, having a great vibe. And yeah, like I said, outside of the beautiful beaches, outside of the great food, hey, it's just us having a great time on the road.
I definitely agree. I mean, with any successful blueprint, others have tried to replicate the vlog or recap style of Inside the Festival. How do you feel, or what are your feelings towards copycats and the copycat culture in media, in Caribbean media, and what separates this from everything else?
So on that note, I guess from the positive spin, of course. Let me finish my thought. Originally, like you said, I guess they say the greatest flattery is imitation. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. So again, when you see people actually kind of copycatting or piggybacking on an idea or concept that somebody else introduced, yeah, like I said, it shows it shows one that you're on the right path and you have something viable. Two, I'm a big believer in giving people flowers while they're alive. So again, even styles, even as far as media production, whenever I get the chance, I always say like, hey, I gotta give a shout out to Africa Allah for showing me the tips and whatever all of the input and knowledge that you've shared with me. So again, from the copycatting, I feel again it's flattering, but I feel those people who are copycatting, you need to draw attention, or at least give some kind of respect to those folks that made it happen. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that. I feel it's just honorable. So again, with I guess with this era and this day and age, a lot of people, everybody wants to beat their chest and be like, hey, I did this and I did that. But again, it's just I feel it's just the right thing to do. When you have, whether you're taking it to another level, whether you want to put your own spin on it, like I said, I think it's just honorable to show that respect to somebody. And I'm just gonna bring it back to, I know you're also a big hip hop head. That's it, to me is almost like a new age rapper saying that, oh, like, hey, like, Africa Bombarded didn't do anything for the culture. you know?
Actually, that was said. That was actually said in his death 2 to 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
Somebody
wow.
came online and said that, and I mean, the hip hop community ate something up.
Yeah. So again, like I said, I feel it's only fair, it's only honorable that you pay homage to the folks that have gone on before you, because again, whether you feel it may not be as great, or hey, you can do something better, it was just because of those folks that introduced it, that
Right.
laid the platform or laid the groundwork for others following to come ahead and do it.
I agree. Now, from a business and cultural standpoint, I feel that it's important, and I've said this multiple times, right? We see people doing the recaps and even, and this is even with big entities that have been around for years, like your
Mhm.
Trini Jungle Juice and stuff like that, right? When you
Mhm.
look at the footage, I think one of the reasons why I feel it's important to have conversations is because visually we hypersexualize stuff because that's what sells, right?
Right.
Me personally, as a female producer, I don't like to glorify the hypersexualization of women in general, because we are so vulnerable in society, no
Mhm.
matter our complexion, right? Women have
Yep.
always been extremely vulnerable, and yeah, we've been exploited in so many
Mhm.
different markets. Think
Yeah.
about the early 1980s when they used to put pretty young things, and when I mean pretty young things, in rock and roll videos with
Yeah.
people that were like 80 years their senior,
Yeah.
or think about the 1990s when the
Mhm.
proximity between women in promotions or videos became closer and closer, to the point where at one point there were like 5, 6 women in a bed at the beginning of almost every rap video.
Yeah.
But that's not what we want to focus on. We want to focus on the story, the culture, and what makes this work.
Yeah.
So when you're shooting, and this comes from the males, because I've seen it, and I was going through some footage and I realized that I do it too, because I was like, how come all of my videos have so much man and chest? But anyway, you shoot what you like. But when we started, and I think I made this abundantly clear. If we are looking for international marketing and international dollars and or
Mhm.
sponsorship dollars, corporate dollars, we need to capture the euphoria and not
Yeah.
the sexuality of it all, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's what's missing, because when I look at the newer videographers and what they call hype, it's always the hypersexualization
Yeah.
of the culture and not necessarily the storyline behind it. So that's where conversation comes in, because there's no room for that hypersexualization in a conversation. Bringing it back, why does programming that focuses on talent and creatives hold more long-term value than just filming the masqueraders? How does this content serve for the sovereignty of Bahamian culture?
So, again, that's I love when you bring that point up. So again, and I gotta give you a lot of credit for that as well, because again, it's easy to get caught up in, like you said, just filming the like you said, the over sexualization, or the revelry, as people call it, or the winding up. It's easy to film that stuff. Of course, that goes on. But again, one of the things, like you said, that you always try to stress is like, hey, if we're looking for international sponsorship or international participation or international viability, one of the things that I do is, hey, and I'm just talking about me personally, like, hey, I try to capture, like, and again, this from another perspective. Hey, I try to capture the folks having fun, the people with the canisters, with the beer or the rum, spraying it into people's mouth, the people toasting. All of I remember, and I'm just picking on specific specific example. I remember that year, the carnival song, "Pick Up Something and Run," or I forgot what it is. I remember on the road, like there was these two guys, these two revelers. They actually made it look like they were at a race, and as soon as the song said "run," they just like took off running, like they were doing like a 50, 100 meter dash. Again, it's like you said, is about capturing the vibe, the aura. Like, of course, I guess anybody who's participated in the carnival, like, yeah, the so-called rude behavior, as we might call it, yeah, that's gonna happen. But there's so much other things on the road that's taking place. Again, I can remember one particular year at Carnival. The road route is extremely long, and I remember these two ladies. They're like, "Hey, we almost done," and they were holding each other's hand, and they're like, "Okay, hey, we made it to the end." Like, these are the things that, again, that makes the carnival experience different. You know what I mean? Even and not trying to avoid the, like you said, the sexualization. Like, for me, even when I'm filming the ladies, like, I try to focus on, like, hey, look at the things that made these things sexy or pretty, like the beads and the leg pieces, the thigh pieces, the wrist pieces, all of these different, even just the design of the bras or the wire bras. Like, these are the different things, the different aspects that I feel that we need to try to focus on. Is not just about the sexualization of carnival. Even and like I said, there's so many different things I can point out. I remember, as far as like Bahamas Carnival, we had a route that actually took us past the beach. Again, like, even yeah, like just filming the revelers or the people in costume, like walking past the beach. Did like a mini photo shoot of one of the revelers out on the beach. Again, these are the different kinds of things. There's so much things, like I said, just besides the behavior, the winding up, or the, like you say, the over sexualization. There's so many different aspects of it. People eating, the people grabbing the food on the road, the vendors. Again,
That
like
is
you
an
said,
excellent opportunity to showcase Bahamian cuisine.
ah,
Like, just people enjoying foods that they've never had before.
yeah, yeah. And I was just going to say, from a tourism product, like you said, from a cultural product, back to what I was saying, like, hey, because of Trinidad Carnival, people know what doubles are, people know what roadie is. And you know what it is, you catch somebody, or you catch a group of people piling up for somebody waiting on comforters or
I,
eating some crackers.
you must be thinking the same thing, 'cause I watched somebody for this, and their eyes rolled back in their head. It was like, and
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
crazy, because this was a one time last year, 2025.
Mhm,
It had been a while since I had been in costume, but this was
mhm,
actually the first time in the 10 years that I was in costume and I didn't have a camera.
mhm.
And I feel like I found it was like so many moments that I missed because I didn't have a camera. Like,
Yeah.
I was able, no, but I was able to actually experience it from the reveler side. Because
Yeah.
being in costume is one thing, but being in costume with your camera is like, okay, well, you still work in. But
Yeah.
being in
Yeah.
costume and actually like letting go of your responsibilities as a producer is a
Yeah.
whole different thing, because now
Yeah.
you're actually inside the festival and you're
Yeah.
experiencing it from the masquerader standpoint. But of course,
Mhm.
I'm always in production mode.
Yeah. Oh man, and again, even back to last year, and like I said, I'm just picking out certain points. Or it was the year before. I remember Sands was out on the road. Sands was out on the road, and they were actually giving people like beers and stuff like that. Again, it's a chance for us to showcase all of these other Bahamian
Right.
aspects. Hey, people see it like, oh, hey, so now. And I might be stretching a little bit, but to me, my thinking is, hey, you show a reveler grabbing a Sands or a collect bear, hey, whenever some international person sees that, they like, okay, they can associate that. Like, hey,
So, right.
hey, when I go to the Bahamas, I want that same beer or whatever that was that he's drinking, whether it's a Kalek or, you know what I mean? Yeah, it'd be like, hey, I want to drink that because that, hey, that person, that picture that I saw, that person looked like they was really enjoying that. So
Listen, I feel like Bahamas Carnival is the perfect commercial for Blue Water.
yeah. I,
The way
I
I
am
drink,
speechless.
the way my folks and my friends drank Blue Water in
Hmm.
2024 on the road.
Yeah.
We could have did a whole commercial because one,
Okay.
they were like, oh my God, this is so crisp. And
Hmm.
two, they were like, oh, I mean, it was hot. That was
Yeah. 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 Hey, hey, on that note, Aquapure, Blue Water, all Echo, y'all holler at us.
right. Like I said, if we look at the global carnival market, Trinidad, Miami, London, where's the hold? Where's the hole? Not the hold, but where's the hole? What is the one thing everyone is still getting wrong about their inner workings that inside the festival determined to expose or improve?
Wow, great question. I think again, just as far as Bahamas Carnival, again, I think we've kind of gotten lost in that heads and beds kind of deal. Whereas even the carnival groups, the only thing they're kind of worried about is selling costumes. But there's so much more to it. I think we need to take a look at it, or do a deeper dive into all of these other things that affect Carnival. I know we have attended meetings. Like now, we have to actually look at the car rental spaces. You know what I mean? There's so
Right.
many. Yeah, of course, the hotels, the airlines. That's kind of automatic. But again, like I said, I think there has to be a serious look as into all of these other aspects of what makes an event, and not just carnival, an event.
Right.
Hey, yeah, like you said, there's food involved, there's beverages involved,
But people want
even.
convenience. They want to be able to drink all day and be able to call a Uber as we know it in
Yeah,
America, right?
look at, yep.
They want to be able to get to the next party without
Hmm.
having to worry about being rolled.
Yep.
And you know what that mean? That mean robbed, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many, and then we have to think about the safety. And when we talk about the safety, there's like not just security, but making
Mm,
sure that that person feels safe in the curated spaces that you created, which is the reason why we had introduced Bahamas Carnival Fete Weekend Collective, so that
mhm.
we could create a cluster of events that work harmoniously together
Yeah.
with the transportation companies to actually provide continuous vetting with the comfort of understanding that you are safe. The
Yeah.
other thing is Bahamas Carnival Fete Weekend 2026. There are one or two events that are not a part of the carnival calendar that
Mhm.
have been introduced during that weekend. Now, they carry the name Fete on them, but these are the over the hill crowds.
Right.
And my fear is that because they have occupied or are going to be occupying the beachfront, people
Mhm.
are going to misconstrue that with the carnival product. And historically, these projects or these events have always led to mayhem at the end or in the
Mhm.
middle or somewhere around it. Protecting the name, gatekeeping. I know people hate that word, right?
Mhm.
But you have to protect the sanctity of the product that you create.
Yeah.
You have to establish criteria and just standards.
Mhm.
Additionally, the whole, and I've seen it globally, and I've heard the conversations thanks to podcasts, because now, which is crazy, because before, when we were talking about carnival as in a podcast, people were like, oh, that doesn't make no sense. But now you have so many Caribbean creators actually creating podcasts
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
the same thing in their space, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Because I mean, 18 months ago, this wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
But I had a conversation. So we go into that. Let me tap on that first. In every market, people are talking about the need for government support. And
Mhm.
those that have government support want more. I think the whole is understanding the value of being the landlord in your cultural space.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you are beholden to someone, you have to push their agenda. When
Agreed.
you are the architect or the landlord of your cultural space, you have the freedom to represent your product culturally and authentically.
Yeah.
That entails everything that has been watered down with corporate sponsorship. Additionally, I did an interview with the treasurer of Miami Carnival, I want to say in 2024, 2023, one of the around that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about the money that goes into putting on a festival. People say that Carnival is being priced out, or people are pricing themselves like Carnival is not cost effective, right?
Right.
The conversation that I'm hearing globally is about the overpricing of Carnival products and pricing the community out of the culture.
Right.
That, and I think even in our market, we've seen that, right? Because people want to produce these elaborate products,
Mm-hmm.
but the economy, the recession is not allowing for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's okay to scale back because we are still dealing with the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Far after the backpacks are taken off, the experience is what's going to live on.
Yeah.
People are going to remember the experience. As a masquerader, as a person that's participated in Carnival since the early 90s in Toronto at Caravana and in New York at Labor Day parade, I've always been one to just wear the swimsuit, just wear the bodysuits and the adornments because it's hot. I don't know, it's hot, and I don't know if you know how feathers feel when they stick on your skin. That is not a good feeling. And this is before I even drank. So you know, when I say that, that means that was before I was drinking alcohol. It was hot then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can tell you, as much alcohol as they give out during Carnival, I don't drink during Carnival. I am drinking blue water always. I mean, when I'm in the Bahamas, but I'm drinking water. I'm drinking alkaline water the entire time, or some coconut water off the side of the street from a fresh coconut,
Mm-hmm.
because I need to keep my endurance.
Yeah.
So like we need to price it accordingly so that everybody can participate, whatever your your level of entry is, right?
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be a cost-effective level of entry, but also I also feel that prices out the riffraff. Then again, when you're having conversations with the people from the Carnival commissions and they're telling you that they spend 1 point something million on the production of a product, you have to think, where's that money being recouped from?
Yeah.
In saying that, this has been Inside the Festival Talk. My name is Africa Allah, and we are here with Romy Rome from Sideline Bahamas. Jerome, go ahead and leave them with one thought that you have in regards to documenting culture and the value of it.
So again, from the Bahamas perspective, again, we have such an amazing product. The Bahamas is so much more than sun, sand, and sea. There's tons of culture, tons of history here. We're a food mecca. The vibes, just the temperament of our people, it's amazing. And I would love to see us continue to grow, continue to evolve. Again, there's lots of things that come into play with that. And even just as you were pointing out, like, hey, we have to become more business or become more astute when it comes to business, become more business savvy. Again, there's a lot of things that goes into the production of an event, not just Bahamas Carnival. Again, we have to know how to be able to read the room, as they say. And again, just like I said, we have an amazing product here. I would love to see it to continue to grow. And with that being said, I cannot wait for Bahamas Carnival Fete Weekend, June. Remind me of the dates again.
June 7th.
Hey, all I know is I can't wait for the first week in June. So again,
today's show is brought to you in part by Bahamas Carnival Fete Weekend, happening June 3rd through 7th in Nassau, Bahamas. You can Also, visit BahamasCarnivalGuide.com for more details and information. I would be remiss if I did not mention that Island Rhythms Bahamas, Island Rhythms Mass Band, is one of our premier sponsors. And if you have not gotten your costume for the June 6th Road March, go ahead and visit rhythmsmassband.com. They no longer have costumes available, but we do have road wear for those of you that missed the costume rush.